Hello, everyone. So excited to have two very special guests on this webinar. They are the founders of India Sourcing Network, successful Amazon sellers, and highly respected in the Amazon community. Join me in welcoming Margaret Jolly and Megha Bharadwaj. Megha, Margaret, thank you so much for taking the time to tell us about the upcoming India trip, sourcing trip. But before we start, can I request you to just share a bit about yourselves, your background, your experience? Megha, can we start?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much, Vishal, for having us here on this webinar. So my name is Megha Bharadwaj, and I'm the co-founder of India Sourcing Network. My background is in sourcing. I've been in the sourcing industry for over 20 years. I started working in India way back in the year 2000. And then I moved to the Philippines. I've lived and worked in China for 10 years. I was in Singapore, and now I'm back to India, growing and developing India Sourcing Network. So I'm also the founder of India Sourcing Trip that is coming up in October.
Fabulous, fabulous. Thank you so much, Megha. Margaret, can you share a few words?
Yes, certainly. Yes, look, well, I'm also the co-founder of India Sourcing Network and India Sourcing Trip, along with Megha and my partner, Kevin. And yeah, look, I suppose my background has been most of my life, I've been in some sort of business or management role, and took a sort of slight detour in 2017 and started looking at selling on Amazon and started doing some selling on sort of Amazon America from products in China, and then segued later that year into finding a great Indian supplier when we were in Hong Kong, and moved to sourcing from India. And I suppose the rest is history, because we met Megha, and now we're doing all we're doing, the trips and the network. So yeah, it's been great.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Great, awesome. So yes, I mean, it's a great segue to the topic of the day of India sourcing from India, right? And it's, for me, it's very exciting because I know what happens in India, but I think for a lot of people, I don't know if they consider India as a sourcing destination. So why don't you tell us, why should Amazon or e-commerce sellers even consider sourcing from India?
I think one of the most important reasons is that there are so many unique products available in India that are not available in other countries. So I think for Amazon sellers, it's really important for them to differentiate themselves from all of the other sellers on Amazon. And one of the ways to do that is to source these unique products. And in India, Vishal, as you know, there are just so many beautiful, first of all, handcrafted products that are made in different regions, and each region specializes in a different category, a different type of product. So for example, there's metal and wooden products that are available, and these are really beautiful, handmade, hand carved metal products that are produced by artisans that have been practicing these skills for generations. And there's mango wood available in India, for example, that's not widely available in China and other countries. And that is a beautiful natural wood that has a beautiful grain. So if you're doing something that, let's say a lot of sellers are doing from China that's made out of, engineered wood, for example, or some kind of bamboo wood, then you can come in with a differentiated product that's made out of mango wood that will help you stand out. That's one big reason. I think another reason is diversification. Nowadays everybody is talking about supply chain issues, and there's COVID lockdowns in China. Again, there's disruptions with supply chain, logistics, shipping is an issue again. So I think diversification is something that every importer is looking into nowadays, whether they're Amazon sellers or retailers, big importers. And India is one of the best alternatives to China. So of course there are other countries that are coming up as well. That's, there's Vietnam, there's Mexico. Many people are also manufacturing in the US. But I feel that India is really well positioned in terms of manufacturing, because first of all, there's a huge manufacturing history, and there are already so many well-established industries. Secondly, there's a large labor pool available that is currently, cheaper than China. So production costs have been going up in China, but in India, production costs are still lower, and also labor costs are still lower. So again, if your product is labor intensive, it can actually be more cost effective to produce it in India. So that's another reason, diversification and also cost savings if your product is is kind of manual and labor intensive. Another reason I think is communication. Communication is so much easier in India than it is in China. Sometimes in China, things get lost in translation, whereas in India, you can easily just pick up the phone because most of the factory owners would speak English. So you can pick up the phone, have a conversation with them, get on a Zoom call, discuss your products. So communication becomes easier as well. So I think those are a couple of the important things that I can think of. Is there anything else you'd like to add, Margaret?
My dog, who was just being naughty. Yeah, no, look, I think, I suppose it's just, I think the variety of the difference of products. I mean, if you're sourcing from China and you go on Alibaba and you're looking for a jug, there's that jugs there, 20, 30, 40 times, and it always looks the same. When you start sourcing from India, it's a big surprise that most of the factories put their own spin on the product. So what you're getting is something quite different. And even though, you might go to 10 different factories, you won't get the exact same thing. And they, I think, don't have websites, a lot of them. You can't go on to like Alibaba and find all their products. So it's a bit more of a secret between each factory as to what they produce. So unless you actually apply to them and get their catalogue, you don't see all the good things they have. So I think that's one of the differences, that you can, go into the e-commerce world with something that's totally different and that's got a great story because of the backstories of the products being handmade in villages and things like that. So I think there's lots of benefits to actually sourcing from India.
Oh, that's lovely. No, absolutely right. And I think you definitely have a great advantage in handmade products, handcrafted products, and language. Language, of course, as most Indians do speak English. Megha, you did mention a lot of handcrafted and wooden products, metal products, but what are the types of products do you think they can source from India?
Yeah, so some of the categories that we see Amazon e-commerce sellers being successful in is first of all home decor and gift items. And these are mostly products that are made out of natural materials such as metal, wood, ceramic, jute, cotton, glass, etc. And there, as we mentioned, there are different production hubs that produce these kinds of products. And there are things like kitchenware, there's tableware, there's trays, salad bowls, candle stands, Christmas decoration items, so lots of different home products. And a lot of Amazon sellers are seeing success. Then there's also furniture. And now furniture, of course, is a bigger item and maybe not ideal for everybody, but there's a lot of knockdown furniture coming out as well. So maybe like side tables or little chairs that they are knocked down and they ship easily. Then furnishings is another big category. So we've got cushion covers, rugs, curtains, poofs, a lot of different kinds of furnishings that are specifically made out of cotton and other natural materials. We also see pet products. So there's factories that do, for example, bowls, bedding, toys. There's also fashion jewelry. There's fashion accessories like scarves, belts. There's footwear. There's leather footwear. There's also very interesting eco-friendly footwear nowadays. There's this company that manufactures shoes that are made out of recycled water bottles, like the plastic PET water bottles. They make shoes out of that. So those kinds of footwear items are pretty interesting. Then there's textiles and apparel. And of course, textiles and apparel is one of India's biggest export categories overall. And there's lots of cotton fabrics and denim, silk, wool, again, a lot of the natural materials that are coming out of India. There's also organic cotton. And India is, in fact, the largest producer of cotton in the world. And organic cotton is, of course, really huge from India. And in fact, there are more organic cotton product manufacturing factories in India than there are in China. So if you are considering going eco-friendly or sourcing organic products, then India is really the way to go. Eco-friendly products as well. I mean, there's a huge variety of eco-friendly materials available in India. So if you want to build a niche that is more, sustainable and eco-friendly focused, then India is really the right place for that. For example, of course, there's, all the natural materials like metal, wood, but there's also jute, for example, that's very eco-friendly, biodegradable. There are also a lot of companies that are producing products made out of plant-based materials. So for example, cactus and pineapple fibers and banana fibers the other day I was seeing, and cork. So a lot of innovation and a lot of production is happening in these eco-friendly kind of products. Leather is another big category. So genuine leather. If you're looking for, let's say, more harder kind of leather, for example, the kind that's used in equestrian products or harnesses and saddles, those kinds of things, you'll find those types of leather as well. And then you'll also find the softer leather that's used in garments and jackets, for example. India is a really big producer of leather jackets and garments as well. Another category that I want to mention is food. And there's a lot of tea, coffee, spices, all of these kinds of materials that are exported. And then there's also health kind of superfoods. So for example, there's ashwagandha or turmeric, and these are all herbs or spices that have some sort of a health benefit, and these are really popular overseas. And a lot of Amazon sellers that we know are doing really well sourcing these kinds of herbal supplements, so to speak. And of course, supplements is a very competitive niche, so you've got to be careful. You've got to have a lot of investment to do PPC with PPC Ninja. But yeah, I mean, that's a category that you can consider as well if you are sort of an experienced seller, maybe not for somebody just starting out. Yeah.
No, thank you, Megha. And yeah, I mean, this the last part. Yeah, supplements. We do have clients supplements is competitive, but at the same time, a rapidly fast growing segment on Amazon, especially in US and the Western markets. So yeah, and it's great to know that there's so many options for sellers out there. Margaret, actually, I wanted to ask you, because you mentioned earlier that you sourced from China and then you also sourced from India, and you're currently sourcing from India. So how does sourcing from India differ from sourcing from China?
Look, I think the biggest thing is the communication. I find it so much easier especially if you're trying to develop a new product or customize something that you've already seen, that you can just hop on a Zoom call. 95% of the suppliers speak really, quite clear English. It might take you, the first time you speak to them, because some of them speak quite fast. But I think once you've spoken to them, and if you can look someone in the face, you can sort of follow the conversation a lot better. But, you can get them to go and show the product and, measure it, look at the backside, the different sides, what you're getting. You can get them to go out and show them around the factory. You can even say to them, look, I want to have a look at my products being made. And you can do all these things, on sort of Zoom. So I think that's a real big advantage, because you would never get that happen to you in China. And I think, look, the relationships you build with your supplier, I mean, they treat you a bit more like a family than just, a supplier-buyer relationship. I think if you can work on that and develop a really good relationship with your supplier, and that way then, you get looked after. And I mean, if you've got a query, they'll come back and say to you, yes, look, sure, we can do it straight away. It's not, I think what I found with China, a lot of our conversations would get lost in translation, and you'd ask for something, and the girl who was the front one who spoke some English would obviously go out the back, and it got twisted, and by the time it got to the other end, you get things go wrong. I mean, we at one stage had our boxes turned out twice the size, and we had proper dye lines done in the States. They were fantastic, but by the time the bloke made the boxes, they were actually double the size of what they should be. But we didn't find out till they were in America, so it was a bit late. So we were shipping air and paying for air going everywhere. So I think those sorts of things, really make life a lot easier when you're dealing. And I mean, it's the same thing if you go to do an inspection, you can actually communicate, with the inspection company, how you want it, done and what you want done. So the whole thing, I think, is just, sort of relationships and things like that, just to make it easier. And of course, the handmade products, as Megha said, like you can get handcrafted, handmade. You can then have a brand story. You can have videos about the products. You can, get people to donate money back to the village where the products are made. There's so many things that you can, I suppose, add a difference to your whole brand and your product, and makes, selling a little bit easier than just, selling the same against everyone else.
Yeah. No, excellent point, Margaret. And I think very, very important, facts or important parameters for any business, and these relationships do count. And I completely understand what you would have gone through with the wrong product being shipped, and only because of miscommunication. So yeah, I think that's again definitely a big advantage here. Megha, earlier you mentioned, of course, you were saying that yes, that now there are logistics issues with China, and then India is kind of India, Vietnam, these countries are becoming other sources for Amazon sellers. Could you at least tell us a bit about how logistics work from India, especially for the US market?
Yeah,
Mark, do you want to take this?
I'll do that one, Vishay. So yeah, look, it's probably at the moment a lot quicker and easier shipping from India. If people don't understand or haven't looked at how India works, they have the main port, which is from Mumbai on the west coast, and that goes direct to New York. So if you're shipping, you would be shipping, instead of going into California where there's all the congestion at the moment with all the China delays and everything else that's going on over in the States. So most of your shipments will go, if you direct them, to New York, and it's only 21 days, so it's a lot quicker. Things are cheaper. It's actually cheaper to have your container debanned and things like that in than in California over in the East Coast, because the fees and the duties and that for all that are not as high. So all those things add up, to making it a lot more cost effective. So I think that's one of the big bonuses. And also with the freight, well, once you get your goods over to America, you don't have the Trump tariff from India like you do from China. So instead of paying, 20, 30% on some products, most of the products are 2 to 4%. You might get the odd thing that might be 8%, but as a general rule, sometimes it's nothing. Some of my products I don't pay any duty on whatsoever. So, if you're doing a similar product, say wood, and you can save 20 or 25% off your price, it's a big, sort of boost to, your profit margin, really. So I think that makes, a lot of difference. And the freight costs over with the COVID situation, I think we got to about 14,000 for a 40-foot container going from India to the East Coast, whereas it's about, I think China at some stage was up to about 25,000. It's come back down now. I think India's down at about 12, and I think China has come down as well. It's sort of, it moves around. It's very hard to keep track of the costs. But yeah, we've been pretty lucky. We didn't get hit with really, really high costs. And I think the bonus is that we haven't had goods sitting in, like I know, friends who have had containers sitting out in the sea at California for 2 months or something, waiting, and missed the Christmas, and now they've got all this stock, and it can really almost destroy your business. So I mean, in that respect, we've been lucky, because the East Coast is not as congested as California. So yeah, so it's going pretty good for us.
Oh, fantastic, fabulous. No, it's great, and I think we've talked about the kind of products and the advantages of India as a sourcing destination, but can we just talk about the quality of the products and exactly how best can sellers or people who are new to sourcing from India manage quality?
Yeah, so I think the key to remember is that in sourcing, quality is very subjective. And quality is basically adherence to specifications. So regardless of where you're sourcing from, first of all, you have to take charge of quality. You have to specify very, very clearly what exactly you want in your product. Because the same product can be made in different quality levels, right? Or different price points, I should say. So you can have a really cheap product that is made out of, flimsy materials, and the same product can be very high quality as well. So it is up to you, up to the buyer, to specify what exactly you want to the supplier. So that's the number one rule in terms of, to manage quality. Make sure that you're giving very, very detailed specifications to your supplier as to, exactly what you need. And then you also have to continue to monitor quality. So it's not like you can just place the order and forget about it. It doesn't work like that in China, and in India it's the same. You've got to manage quality yourself. You've got to, follow up with the supplier, make sure that they're producing everything, according to your specifications. Especially if it's a really large order and your risks are high, you might want to do, more inspections. So most Amazon sellers would do at least a pre-shipment inspection. So that's when most of the products are manufactured and they are being packed. That's when you do one inspection and you get a third party to do that inspection to make sure that the goods are according to specifications before they are shipped out. But if you're doing a larger order, then sometimes, we also recommend doing a midline inspection when products are on the assembly line, or even a pre-production inspection, which is before production starts, especially if you're doing something, textile based. You want to do a pre-production inspection to check the fabrics and make sure that the fabrics are according to your specifications in terms of colors, etc. So those are a couple of things. And there are a lot of third-party inspection agencies that are operational in India. We recommend one of the India-based companies, RSJ Inspection. They are really very professional, and they are India Sourcing Network's recommended service provider. But there are other agencies as well that provide services that you can go to. Inspections typically cost $200 to $300 per man day, and usually for most shipments, it is 1 man day is enough for an inspection. So we strongly recommend people to get at least one inspection done before their products are shipped out. Because if there are quality issues and the product is shipped out of India, then it's very difficult to fix the issues. So that's one thing that you should definitely keep in mind.
Oh, great. Thank you. Thank you. And I guess what Margaret was telling earlier as well, that you can even request some of them to take videos of the factory and the production process just to kind of stay on top of things. Fabulous. No, thank you. I mean, this is really exciting, and this is so much new information even I'm getting, although being so familiar with India. And so, yeah, actually, I mean, can you share a bit about the trip that you're organizing shortly, I think in October this year?
Yes, and I would like to share a video. Yes, I'm going to share a video here, and I'll let the video play on mute, and then I'll just talk over the video to tell you about the trip. So these are clips from the previous trip that we had done in October 2019, and the next trip is coming up in October of this year. Dates are 12th to the 19th. So this is basically a trip where we focus on 3 aspects. One is learning all about sourcing from India. Second is sourcing actual products. And third is cultural experience. And this is mostly for e-commerce, Amazon sellers, but also other types of importers, any type of company basically looking to source products from India. And this is an 8-day trip to Delhi. So the first thing that you see is as soon as you come to the airport, you're picked up by our people there. It's an all-inclusive trip that includes everything from the hotels to food to transportation. So all you need to do is bring yourself to the Delhi airport, and from there on, everything is taken care of. The first thing that we do is a full-day conference, and we've got experts, from India and overseas who talk about how to source products from India for FBA. What are the pitfalls to avoid? What are the challenges? What are some of the things you need to note? How to save costs in logistics, for example, how to make payments, how to do quality control. So it's basically a lot of the best practices on the key issues, cultural sensitivities, how to navigate the trade show, for example. So we've got 17 coaches who are traveling with the group this time. And these coaches are from the US, Australia, and India as well. And that's my son over there who's giving a Hindi tutorial to everybody. And in the evenings, we have a lot of networking because we like to work hard and we like to party hard as well. So in the evenings, we do networking dinners, networking drinks. On most evenings, we've got alcoholic drinks for everybody, and we're staying in a really nice 5-star hotel where we do networking. Now we visit this trade show called the Delhi Fair, and this is sort of the Canton Fair of India, on a smaller scale. There are about 4,000 exhibitors of all types of home products and other, fashion and textile products at this fair. And all of the suppliers are export focused. That's really important to keep in mind, because when you're sourcing from India, you don't want to source from a company that is focused on the domestic market. You want an export focused company, because only those types of companies understand the requirements of overseas buyers. So all of the suppliers at this show are actually export focused, and they are vetted by the government, because the fair is organized by the Export Promotional Council for Handicrafts. And so all of the exhibitors at the show are actually members of that council. And if they are not exporters, if they're not legitimate companies, they can't be members of the council. So, that very high quality suppliers over here. And then we also visit a couple of factories in and around Delhi. And this time we have added an additional 3 days to the trip, and that's an optional trip that we're doing to the city of Moradabad. where we are taking people to visit factories of metal and wooden products. Now, Moradabad is a city that is about 4 or 5 hours by road from Delhi, and that's the hub for metal and wooden production. And then we also have a lot of cultural activities, and we have a lot of fun because, Visha, there's so much culture in India. So we have to really give people a taste of the culture. So we go to Taj Mahal, which is one of the 7 wonders of the world. We do a Bollywood night where we have like dances and we have a Bhangra show. Then people can dress up in saris and wear turbans and, just learn some Bollywood moves, put henna tattoos. And so just kind of experience Indian culture. Then we also give back to society. So for every attendee that joins the trip, we actually sponsor the education of one child at a nonprofit organization for 1 whole year. So the child receives, their stationery and their books, etc., for 1 year with this sponsorship. And so it's a really nice way to give back to society as well. So yeah, that's a little bit about the trip. And there's more information at indiasourcingtrip.com, of course.
Wow, that is amazing. I'm actually excited to be there. So
yeah, you're coming, right? We have to convince Ritu to come now.
We have to, yes. I'm definitely going to be there. And more importantly, I think I would like to tell the listeners about the early bird prices, which are available till the 30th of June, right? And I think they should take advantage because it's a huge benefit. And yes, and yeah, the registration link will also be added as a description at below the video. Great. This has been amazing. This has been amazing. Margaret, Megha, thank you so much for taking out the time. Thank you so much for organizing this. Really exciting stuff, and definitely hoping and looking forward to seeing you soon. Not hoping, but I'm going to be there, and I'm sure many more. Yeah. Great.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Day. Thank you, and take care.
See you in India.
Bye.
Bye.